Welcome to our City Council meeting. Thank you for being here. Today is December 12th, 2017, and all council members are here. Our mayor and our attorney's here too. You look at him. He might not be real thrilled, but he is here right now. But anyway, Jennifer, also welcome. I have asked if Mike Terry, our HR director, would lead us in the pledge.
You repeat the pledge after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Item 5.2, approval of minutes for council meeting 5.2.1 on November 21st, 2017. If there are questions or if there are no questions, we'll ask for a motion.
I'll move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Next, 5.31, we have a Murray City Employee of the Month, and if Doug Hill would join me, please. Murray.
So are we done now, Brett?
You might have to talk for it, Jim. Oh, that might disappear.
Has that happened before? Yes. Oh. You were so quick to... Okay, we won't touch... We'll just let that... Does that work?
Hi,
all right.
Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Good job, Tim.
Yes, great job. Now, excuse me, Maureen, 1 minute. This is the most important thing. This is a $50 gift certificate. Woohoo! But we started Employee of the Month about 5 years ago. Come on up, Maureen. And this is Maureen Gallagher. Have you been here about 8 years? 8 years. Mm-hmm. And so Doug selected you as our Employee of the Month. And we just want to tell you as a council how much we appreciate your service and your dedication. And so we have a certificate for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then your name will go back on the plaque, and we'll be there for about 100 years. And so, and then, like I said, $50 gift card for you. And again, from the council, we appreciate all that you do. And let's give her a round of applause. Now Doug gets to say more. Trish, I see Trish back there, and she's not going to talk?
So I do want to read what Tricia Cook, who is the director of the Heritage Center, said about Maureen. She says, Maureen is a hard worker who always follows through with her programs. She puts her heart and soul into the seniors. Maureen puts a personal touch on all of her jobs. The evening dances are always well attended and lots of fun for the seniors. Maureen's professionalism and kindness is a prime example of why seniors always look forward to being at the Heritage Center. All of the participants are very lucky to have Maureen working for the city. So, Maureen, I want to say how much we as staff also appreciate working with you and appreciate all the good things you do for our community. And we'll give you an opportunity to come up to the microphone and say hello, but we'd love to have you introduce your family. And Tricia, thank you for being here as well. So, Maureen, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you. Thank you, City Council. I appreciate the work that I do, and I appreciate the Murray City. You do an excellent job. Excellent job. I'm always proud to be in our building. These are my girls, Brianna and Rosie. Thank you once again. It's a pleasure to create programs that people continually come back for. I can always trust that we do an excellent job, so I appreciate the acknowledgement.
Thank you so much. We sure appreciate it. Trish, it's always good to see you. Okay. Next, item 5.3.2, consider a joint resolution of the mayor and the Murray City Municipal Council in appreciation for Mary Ann Kirk. And Mayor Camp and Doug, both? Or just Mayor Camp? Okay, just Doug, sorry. You're not going to...
Thank you. Doug will be here in case this microphone falls and Tim's not available. What a pleasure it is to recognize Mary Ann Kirk this evening. Another individual with so much passion and love for this city, for the arts, for the history, and you can't think of any of the arts and history programs without thinking of Mary Ann. And Mary Ann, it's a pleasure to be able to present this resolution this evening. And I'm going to read it. There's lots of whereases in it. But this is a joint resolution of the mayor and Murray City Municipal Council in appreciation for Mary Ann Kirk. Whereas Mary Ann Kirk has worked for Murray City for 25 years, beginning August 3rd, 1992, culminating her service as Cultural Programs Manager, and has chosen to retire January 1st, 2018. And whereas prior to her employment with the city, Mary Ann served 5 years as a volunteer on the Murray Arts Advisory Board, creating a fair grant process for local art agencies and recommended how to better utilize the Murray Park Amphitheater. Whereas Mary Ann brought people and ideas together by making a deliberate effort to weave art and history into all aspects of the city, believing that arts and humanities are its heart and soul. Whereas Mary Ann working with the Arts and History Advisory Boards and staff, created a vision and extensive arts and history programming in the Murray community. Together, they developed a wide variety of art experiences for local arts, young and old, professional and amateur. With approximately 175 to 200 annual events and projects, over 2,500 artists provided cultural opportunities for 35 to 40,000 patrons from Murray and throughout the Wasatch Front. Whereas Mary Ann coordinated many events, including a citywide dance festival for the Olympics and Murray High School Centennial, Murray City Centennial celebrations, and Murray Fun Days. She designed and implemented many programs for school-age youth that impacted both large and small numbers of students participating in after-school musicals, film festivals, school residencies in storytelling, dance, theater, and music, secondary art show, and touring performances and residencies such as the Missoula Children's Theater. Whereas Mary Ann strengthened relationships with local art organizations by coordinating grant funding and city support for critical facility needs, providing professional training for nonprofit administration, and by developing shared winter and summer seasons, including Murray Arts in the Park series. Whereas Mary Ann was an advocate and steward of Murray's history, including historic preservation, she coordinated professional surveys of the entire city to document its historic structures for future generations to explore. This included developing a local historic register and nominating sites to the National Register of Historic Places, thus recognizing and educating owners of the public value of historic buildings. Whereas Mary Ann managed the development of Murray City's first city museum and many history-related projects, including cemetery tours, bus and walking tours, Halloween history events and storytelling, 8 history publications, a mobile app for historic downtown, and several other history-related products. The large collection, the large photo collection and a searchable catalog of family histories and documents can be attributed to Mary Ann's efforts. Whereas Mary Ann coordinated with many public art projects and history signage, which can be found at all track stations, Costco, Jordan River Parkway, Murray Park, Intermountain Medical Center, and Murray City Hall. Whereas Mary Ann wrote and the city received numerous grants for art programming, history-related preservation projects, public art, the Murray Park Amphitheater, and the Hillcrest Junior High School Auditorium. Whereas Marianne was known as a vocal advocate for the arts and humanities, participating in numerous art and history-related organizations and networks. She was a mentor to others who wanted to explore Murray City's award-winning accomplishments. Whereas it has been said that all good men and women must take responsibility to create legacies that will take the next generation to a level we could only imagine. Such a person is Marianne Kirk. Be it therefore resolved by the council and the mayor of Murray City that the city expresses its most sincere appreciation and gratitude to Marianne Kirk for the many years of service and contributions. And that is the resolution.
Okay. Go ahead, Blair.
If you'd like to take action on the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion. We adopt the resolution of the Mayor and Murray City Municipal Council in appreciation for Marianne Kirk.
I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Jennifer.
Mr. Napolsky?
Aye.
Mrs. Carter?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Now, Marianne, would you come up, please, and accept this resolution with our gratitude? Thank you so much. Dan, it's all yours.
Look at her.
I'll just be brief. It's been a great experience. And I love Doug. He has just been a great support for me and allowing me. The coolest thing about this is it allowed me to use my talents to create and think of fun things to do for people to enjoy the arts and history. And I love the city. And I do 100% believe that arts and history are the heart and soul, because that's what connects us together. And I just can't. That is so important to a community. I was not born in Murray, but I feel like this is my home, and I do think I probably know more about it than most anyone through the research. But I do. I want to introduce my son Ben. He's representing my family. I'm sorry that there weren't more people here, but. My husband's in retail, and Christmas is kind of a crazy time. But Ben was actually born 6 weeks before I started this job.
Oh, my goodness.
So I pushed him in a stroller at the amphitheater as a volunteer. And so he got in from the ground at the beginning of my career here. And I would like, but thank you so much. And I would like, I'm just going to pass this around. This is my real party. I can't go out without doing a concert. So I've written my story about how I began in the arts, and check out the bottom right-hand corner. It's me with a full-fledged beard and Fiddler on the Roof as a dancer.
Wow.
So come and enjoy January 5th at 7 p.m. Thank you so much.
Now, Marianne, you're retiring. Oh, you're just going to hang around home, or what are you doing?
Well, I'm going to help in the history end of things, but I'm also going, I'll be serving on an LES mission. We're leaving in April to the San Diego Mormon Battalion Visitor Center, Arts and History.
Oh, man, that is great. That is awesome.
Thanks, Marianne. Did you want to say anything, Doug?
Yeah, no kidding. Thanks. One more time. Thank you, Marianne. We absolutely appreciate you, and you've been phenomenal. And Ben, you're okay too, so thanks for coming. All right. Oh, gosh, I'm getting some dirty looks over there. I've had dirty looks. Not dirty looks, but I've had looks from Frank before, but this is, I think, one of the worst. And he kept trying to get Carrie's attention. And Carrie, you're smart. You didn't look at him. He kept looking over you, and you were looking over in another direction. And you've done that for a few years, I take it? Okay. But anyway, so item 5.3.3. Oh, this is a real shock. He had no clue. Consider a joint resolution of the mayor and Murray City Municipal Council in appreciation for Frank Nakamura and Mayor and Diane? Mayor and Diane, if you would, council. Look at him.
This is a real pleasure because Frank loves the limelight.
Attention is his thing, let me tell you.
Okay, all right. It's been rumored that Frank has been talking about retiring, although I heard him say just, I think today, that he's trying to decide on the last day, but
We heard that.
I've had the opportunity to work with Frank Nakamura for a number of years in different capacities. I worked with him when I was the fire chief, and then as a council member, and now as mayor. And we've had some really great challenges that we've worked through together. And I know that everybody who's been a department director or has even been involved with the city at all has some kind of a story to tell about Frank. And of course, they're all good. Yeah. So we would like to honor you tonight, Frank, with a joint resolution from the mayor and the municipal council. And of course, it's appropriate for the city attorney to have a lot of whereases as well in your proclamation. So I'd like to read it, unless you want to read it.
You read half and I'll read half.
Okay, all right, okay. Whereas I will read the first half, and whereas you can read the second. Okay, a joint resolution of the mayor and Murray City Municipal Council in appreciation for Frank Nakamura. Whereas Frank Nakamura has spent over 30 years dedicated to public service, having served in the Salt Lake City Attorney's Office for 12 years, where he became a deputy city attorney, and as the Murray City Attorney for over 19 years. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has dedicated his career to serving the public and has earned the respect of all who have had the privilege of working with him and of those with whom he has dealt, including never having turned anyone away who asked to meet with him. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has been involved in every legal matter at Murray City over the past couple of decades and has consistently throughout his tenure provided the highest caliber legal services, advice, and guidance to this city and its leaders. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has set an example of honesty and integrity in his work that has been fostered, that has fostered an ethical culture for the city that will have positive, lasting impacts in the community. And whereas Mr. Nakamura remains calm and unflappable, especially in critical high-pressure situations, providing sound advice and leadership. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has been diligent in his work for the city, providing ordinances and resolutions with explanations to ensure understanding of the issues considered and necessary details for elected officials to make wise decisions on behalf of their constituents. You want to go from there?
All right. Mr. Nakamura also serves as counsel to the city council. So he's also with the administrative, with the mayor's office, as well as with the council. So that's why we deserve our say as well. Whereas Mr. Nakamura has always shown the utmost respect for the Utah open and public meetings laws and has been the guiding hand behind the city's transparency. And he's a stickler on that, which was recently recognized in the Salt Lake Tribune as the city having held the fewest closed public meetings of all the Utah cities studied in 2016. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has exemplified all the values of the city attorney's office, the legal profession, and the best ideals of public service, including a commitment to the highest ethical standards and excellence in providing legal representation and advice, and he has a lot of that. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has constantly advocated for fairness and openness, which has enhanced the quality of life for citizens in the community. He has been exceptionally effective in advocating for policies and efforts that improve the lives of citizens in Murray, including those that may not always have equal access to opportunities. And whereas Mr. Nakamura has been very effective at working strategically to enhance efforts for the community, including building relations with other government jurisdictions. He has been a mentor for many elected officials and city staff in many areas, including serving with professionalism, which he has demonstrated throughout his career. His approach to the work has brought respect and admiration from other jurisdictions who have tried to emulate these elements in their communities. He also regularly promotes Murray as the best city in Utah and has often expressed his love for working in this great city. And whereas Mr. Nakamura will be deeply missed by the city's elected officials, department heads, and fellow members of the city attorney's office as a legal advisor, colleague, and friend. And whereas Mr. Nakamura is married to Carrie, they have continually supported each other as they have different career assignments, opportunities, and commitments throughout the years. Together, they have 2 children, Janie and Michael. Frank and Carrie have always made their children a priority while working. They have loved and supported them as they have been active in different activities and pursued higher education interests. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor of Murray City and the Murray City Municipal Council that the city hereby recognizes the service of Frank Nakamura and the benefit his service has brought to the citizens of Murray City.
Okay, so
You want to take action?
yes, I'd like to take action. All right.
I'll be happy to make this motion. I'll move that we adopt the joint resolution of the mayor and Murray City Municipal Council in appreciation for Frank Nakamura.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, you guys, get him up there.
While Frank's coming up, I just want to assure everyone that Frank is not really retiring. He is taking his talents and spending his time somewhere else, but this man is not going to retire. Frank, will you look?
Oh, come on. Don't.
First of all, give me a moment. I was caught off guard. Thank you very much, all of you. I don't like my staff to see me this way, but usually pretty tough and calm, but I don't know. Murray City, my government jobs, I've been very fortunate. Been able to work all these years in a job that I loved every day, and that's incredible. I deeply appreciate that. To all of you, and the members of the council, the department directors, Jim, you're one of my best friends. I want to thank the department directors. And then I got my wonderful staff. I always brag about the staff, people that I have, but to be able to work with you, all of you, every day, and I see all of you here, I wish you would have told me this was going to happen tonight. That is disloyalty. It's the only time that they have been ever disloyal to me. And GL, you promised me that you would keep.
I heard that Carrie's on board.
Carrie always takes precedent, and that's just one of the things I live with. But anyway, to a terrific staff, I got to tell you that they've been so loyal, and I made a decision years ago to ask Jill if he would be my deputy, and that was the best decision I ever made from a work standpoint. Wow, somebody that supported me throughout the years. Tell people we had probably one argument in 20 years, and it was my fault. So anyway, my staff is here: Beatrice, Jill, Lori, Sierra, Jordan, Carissa, and I thank you so much. And then one member from my staff is here who's kept me on the straight and narrow, even though she hasn't been here for a while, and it's Jennifer Reuter right there. Jennifer was with me at the very beginning and has been with me ever since, so thank you. And then the hard part, I have my family are here. So I'm very fortunate to have a supportive family. My father and mother-in-law, Frank and Susan, the greatest youth fans there are around. And then my cousins, but actually I've always treated them as my brothers and sisters, Gina and Mickey. Thank you guys for coming. And then I have two brothers. My brother Stan here, and my brother Cal. And they've been with me through my life and very supportive, so thank you. Stephanie. And if anybody knew how close I was to my brother Cal, but this is my brother Cal. And then the guy that I always test the pulse of Murray City lives on Vine Street over there. Boyd, thanks for coming, Boyd, and a very close cousin. Then I have my daughter, Janie. I'm very proud of you, Janie, and actually, Janie, she's filming for my brother, or my son, Michael, who's over in Italy right now. And Janie, most of my time spent when I retire will be with Janie and with Michael. A lot of time will be with them. And then last, Carrie, thank you for everything. And thank God you married me. Thank God. I mean, I'll tell you, that's my life right there. Carrie Nakamura. Everybody knows Carrie. And we joke about, I used to have friends who said, oh yeah, I know who's you're not the guy. I have to talk to Carrie. And I know that. So anyway, she's yeah, I always thank her for being my wife. So I don't know who put this together, Janet. I'm really caught off guard, and I'm sorry for my emotions today because it's very mixed emotions. I love this city. I love everybody that I work with. Doug, thank you for everything. But I guess it's time, and I suppose I should end it with something that I think came out of a Winnie the Pooh book. It said something to the effect that how lucky I am to find it to be in a position where it's so hard to leave, and so difficult to leave. It's very special for me to work in this and as Mayor Camp said, you're going to see me around. I'm not done. I expect you'll see me in other capacities. I do anticipate working for government again, and so I'll be out there. I want to tell people I'm going to be out there. I'm just taking my pension. That's So I'm taking my pension, and I hope to double dip. That's what I'm. So anyway, thank you all very much, and thank you for letting me get through this. And there will be consequences for those who didn't tell me and who set me up this way. I think I know a few of you. Some of them I won't be able to deal with, but thank you very much, and I love you all. And thank you.
Also, on behalf of the council,
Oh, thank you.
we thought, just in case you have a little time on your hands, which doesn't sound like you have much, we thought you might enjoy that gift. And
Okay.
just
And if you don't
remember-
mind, if I do want to, I give my wife and my daughter a hug. I used all more than 3 minutes.
With permission
I
of the
would,
council.
I would, but you cut me off.
Here, Frank.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I can't let this one go. I got to say something.
Congratulations.
A very long time ago, Mayor Snar appointed me to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so I've known Frank for 17 years. He's also one of my best friends. This will be tough, too. I come in and talk to him. He keeps me honest. And maybe now that he's retired, he might take me fishing, because he has talked about fishing, and particularly this spot that he and Stan go to up in Wyoming. I got an idea where it is, but it's secret. But sometime we're definitely going to have to go fishing. But I will miss him more than he knows.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to miss him. You know, Frank, you're a man of honor and integrity, and I know that's huge to you. Integrity is huge. I remember when our son was in, gosh, a little hard time, in Ukraine on an LDS mission, and they were shutting down the area because the Russians were invading. And I think Frank was as invested in it as I was. And he just was really concerned, and I really have always appreciated that. So thank you. But we love and appreciate you, Carrie, the family. He's been awesome. The part about calm, when Blair or Mayor Camp read about calm, he made big calm on the outside, but I have never seen anybody pace like Frank Nakamura. Never. Well, Jim Brass is a second close, but they are the pacers. But anyway, so we appreciate you very, very much, and thanks. All right. Okay, we're going to move on to a lot of stuff, so if you guys want to hang out and look at Carrie, got up so fast. Is it really? My goodness.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so glad. Thanks for being here. Another
It's good
round.
to see
We appreciate
everybody.
it. There comes a gift. We should have had her come up. Thank you.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I had my napkin.
Yeah. There's a napkin.
We'll just wait 1 second while everyone's leaving.
Yeah, it was great. What a good crowd.
That was a good secret, wasn't it, Frank?
Oh, not off guard.
Yeah, you didn't.
I could tell. I was a little surprised because Jim's over there saying, like, I've got to keep him in here a little longer. And I thought he was going to think something. Okay, anyway. Thanks again, and we appreciate everyone that's here. Okay, we will go on to citizen comments. That's where we allow, this isn't for public hearing, but just for citizen comments. 3 minutes. If you like, you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and then we'll have you fill out a form if you haven't done it before. So we'll open that for citizen comments. Do you want to go? Or is it for something that's on the agenda? Okay, we'll open that up. Thank you for saying that, but we'll open that up if it's something on the agenda, right? That you're talking about. Okay. Okay. If there's no citizen comments, then we will close that part of the agenda, and there's no consent agenda. We'll move on to one of our public hearings. Public hearing number 1 is public hearing to receive input with respect to the issuance of approximately $5,800,000 of sales tax revenues bonds, and B, any potential economic impact that the project to be financed with proceeds of said bonds may have on the private sector. City Dec, thank you.
I believe that we discussed this at length in our committee of the whole, as well as in a council meeting, as to why we are proposing a bond for the fire station in for the amount of $5.8 million. The main purpose is to preserve our reserve levels, to try and increase our credit rating when we go out to build this city hall in the next year or so, as well as to preserve interest rate risk. So if we issue the bonds at this point in time, we will be able to save interest that we may end up paying later when we issue the city hall bond. So it's not an issue of really getting the city more in debt than what our plan is overall for the next 2 years. It is just merely shifting it from one year to another. So if there's any questions by the council, I believe that we've discussed this pretty much.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Denise, why sales tax revenue bonds versus property tax based?
Sure, that's a good question. So we're going with a sales tax revenue bond. A general obligation bond would obligate property tax, but it requires a public vote to issue a general obligation bond. General obligation bonds certainly have a lower interest rate because they're a guaranteed revenue source. It's not going to go anywhere. Sales tax revenue bonds are the next safest for credit ratings or for interest rates because they're pretty stable. The city has a high concentration of a particular organization that we receive sales tax that concerns our credit ratings, which is why I would further stress that this decision is important as we try to raise our credit and decrease our interest rate when we issue the larger bond for the construction of City Hall next year or whenever it is we do that. Thank you for that question.
Good question.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll turn it over to public comment.
Okay. Thanks, Denise. All righty. This is on this one, public hearing number 1. We'll have public comments. Same thing as citizen comments. You have 3 minutes. State your name and address, and if you haven't filled out a form, then do so. So, is there anyone here for public comment on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that and bring it back to the council for any questions or comments or a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion. Motion to receive with respect to the issuance of approximately $5.8 million of sales tax revenue bonds, and B, any potential economic impact that the project to the financed with proceeds of said bonds may have on the private sector. I'd so move.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Jennifer?
Mr. Napolsky?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Second, 8.1.2, consider a resolution acknowledging the holding of a public hearing to receive public input with respect to A, issuance of the Series 2018 bond, and B, any potential economic impact that project described herein to be financed within the proceeds of the Series 2018 bonds may have on the private sector. We just did, but do we need to do that again, though? We need to. So we don't need to go through?
Yeah, I'd prefer you pass that
Okay,
this
all right,
resolution.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
You want me to make a motion?
please.
Motion to adopt a resolution acknowledging the holding of a public hearing to receive public input with respect to A, the issuance of the Series 2018 bonds, and B, any potential economic impact that the project described herein to be financed with the proceeds of the Series 2018 bonds may have on the private sector.
I'd second that.
Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Public hearing number 2, consider an ordinance relating to land use, amends the zoning map for a portion of the property approximately 1187 West Bullion Street, Murray City, Utah, from R110, low-density, single-family, to R18, low-density, single-family. Now, did I say that? Did I repeat myself? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And presenting Tim Tingy.
Council, this item was considered in a public hearing on November 2nd by the Planning Commission. It is related to zone change. The general plan for this area has determined and based on the adoption of the council that this area is to be single-family low density under the general plan. This proposal to go from, with the 5 acres that we're talking about, to go from R110 to R18, that is consistent with the general plan. So just keep in mind a couple of things related to this. This is a zone change. It's consistent with the general plan. It's single-family low density. Originally, when this area had a zone change that was considered by you several months ago, the applicant had a different legal description for the project that they were looking at. That's what prompted this change for this 5.24 acres. Staff recommended approval to the Planning Commission's recommending that to you. Planning Commission unanimously, after a public hearing, recommended that this zone change be considered by the council and be approved. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions for Mr. Tingy?
Will this change make there be more homes? Will it allow for more homes in that area?
So it could potentially, where it's a zone change. However, the applicant has indicated, the property owner has indicated that there is no plan for additional units. The actual plan has gone through a preliminary plat approval through the Planning Commission, and this is a cleanup of the property description with that proposal. So they are not proposing that there'll be any changes. They'd have to go clear back through a process and have public input on that. But we're not considering a specific plan. We're considering a zone change, and potentially it could minimally increase the lots for this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Tim? Tim, is the applicant here? Or? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Evening, Council. Brian Prince with Ivory Development. I'm going to answer a handful of questions that have been brought up. You voted on this land use change, this rezone change, last October 18th. The error that was made was not a document that the applicant provided. We provided an exhibit that was shown in the hearing that night that showed the correct boundary of the R18 to R110. And we provided staff that correct legal description. The legal description that was put in the staff report was incorrect. So that was the error that was made. And we recognized it much later. So you approved the rezone last October. The preliminary plat went on to approval earlier this year. And even after that preliminary plat approval, we got a final plat for the first phase approved and have since built that first phase. So in talking with staff, primarily Jared Hall, when this was brought up, months after these hearings, he said this is a clerical error and we'll go back through the rezone just to clean this up. Ivory went through the land use change decision and a preliminary plat approval And once that was finalized, we purchased the property. And we made our decision for that capital investment based on the votes that were taken here and on the land use and the plat. We have not asked for an adjustment on that plat. We're not getting additional units. The preliminary plat was approved, and much later, the staff identified an error that took place, and your staff is great. So I wasn't going to fight it and said, let's work together and clean this up. And so we're not asking tonight for to open the door for additional units. You can look at that plat. And so the simple answer for the council and for the residents here, this is an error that was made in the staff report that was provided, and that's understandable. But we're cooperating with staff to clean this up. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Can I reserve the right to come up and answer any questions after the public hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you sold the car. I'd get off the lawn.
Yeah. I love that. He's saying.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. That's funny, Dave. Okay. Now we will open this, no questions. Okay, so we'll open this up for a public hearing regarding this. And again, 3 minutes. I know I've repeated myself 3 times tonight. If you can fill out a form, if you're coming up, and just state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. So come on up, right up to the podium here. Thank you for filling that out. We appreciate that. Yeah, you can do it after.
I live on the corner of Pitchfork and Haystack, and this will impact my life greatly. We keep hearing rumors that there are going to be additional units and that's why they are reducing the lot sizes. We are quite concerned. There are only going to be 2 streets going in. I prepared a little thing for you to kind of see the density of Walden Glen versus the density of our neighborhood. And I have the map that he was just showing. It shows our existing area where there are 40 homes. And in almost the same area east of us, if you look at the proportions, we have heard rumors of 80 homes. Is that correct?
82? Is that right, Pam? Okay.
Yeah. So right there, it's already going to be quite dense, so we're concerned. We've also heard that they were going to be having to push the sewer and water towards 13th West past all of ours, which will be impacting our municipal services, correct?
We'll ask Tim will come up.
Okay. Our concerns really quickly are, 1, only 4 homes on our street were contacted out of those 30 homes. Neighborhood Christmas gifts are quite illuminating. Which is how we found out about this being on the docket tonight. And we would like to have them consider, there are only 2 outlets to Bullion Street on the existing plan. Currently, this small street accommodates 30 houses. If we add the other additional 80, we're very concerned about the traffic flow because it's very hard to get on Bullion and go up to 13th West now. We're concerned about the sewage, and we wanted Ivory Homes to consider a reasonable amount of units to not overburden our traffic and our municipal systems. So if I could give you my little thing, I would love to.
And Tim, do you want to go now or after?
Yeah.
After, okay. Oh, great. Thank you. Okay.
Jacqueline Morgan, 1251 Pitchfork, and I teach at Riverview, and I live in that area.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, come on up. You bet.
Thanks, man.
So, Rich Martinez, I live also just over by Jackie, 1232 West Pitchfork. So I hear what you're talking about as far as clerical error, but I'm hearing generalities. I've heard no specifics. What clerical error? Why was a clerical error made? Why was it not caught prior to? What do we need to clean up? I mean, I'm assuming that you don't make an investment in this sort of endeavor without having a very detailed grand plan of lot sizes, specific homes, right down to the very bare minimum. So what did we miss here that we're trying to decrease the size of the lots? And in your rezone that you're asking for, we're going from what size originally planned to what size now that you want. So I'd like more specifics.
Okay.
I mean, I understand what he's asking for in generalities, but I got no specifics, and I don't know if you do either. If you can answer for me what lot they're master plan for now and what he's going to try to get it to. And if he gets a rezone, is it a guarantee that he won't come back and ask for another hearing now that they got the rezone, if they get it, to now use that as a stepping stool to get more units in at a later date? If you're doing that, I would want some guarantees, specific guarantees, that they will not ask for more lots to be carved up to do more homes. In that respect, I think it's coming at us backwards and using this as a stepping stool to do something that I don't want them to do. So if it's master plan, he's been approved for it, and he's got a certain specific approval already, I'm okay with that, all right? But I'm with Jackie. That area is pretty busy as it is, and to tack on 82 more homes and with the possibility of more, I mean, why don't I go into your neighborhood, buddy, and carve that up a little bit too? So I want more specifics. Is what I want.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. Tim, we'll have you do it after, but come on up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Do whatever you want.
My name is Clive Romney. I also live on Pitchfork Road, and I'm concerned about the lack of transparency. We've only found one home tonight that had a flyer delivered that told about this meeting. Thank goodness that one home got it, and that Jackie was out delivering Christmas gifts and found out about this meeting. If that's the case, then is there going to be that pattern? When they go to ask to now amend it so that they can have higher density still. So I support what Jackie and Rich have said and have that additional concern. In the wintertime, the road going up Bullion connecting with 1300 West Canal Street is disastrous. When it snows, that is a disaster. And so to have still more traffic piled onto that is very concerning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Any other comments on this? Okay, if not, we'll close that part of the hearing and then have Tim come up, and we'll have the applicant come up also, but Tim, go ahead.
Appreciate the comments. Let me just address some of the issues that were brought up. First of all, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, this is not a proposal for a specific project. This is a rezone. The process through state law and through local land use law is that rezone issues have to be addressed prior to project, subdivision, other projects coming in. So this is the correct process that we're going through at this point. There was a rezone that occurred several months ago that rezoned this to single-family low density, which included a portion of it being R110, and for clarification, that is 10,000 square foot lots, and portion of it being R18, 8,000 square foot lots. Both of those designations are low density. I think sometimes there's a perception that going from 10,000 to 8,000 square foot lots means that you're increasing the density to high density. It's absolutely incorrect. It's low density. About 3/4, if not more, of the homes in Murray City in low density single family neighborhoods are R18. Okay, so this designation, it's 10,000 square foot lots and 8,000 square foot lots. The original applicant was not Ivory Homes, it was Citadel. They came in with a legal description that was noticed legally, that went through the process, and it didn't match up with what was brought in with Ivory and their development plans. That's what this cleanup is about. It's matching what the preliminary subdivision, which was already approved by the Planning Commission, with the zoning designation that they have indicated. So that is the cleanup element. Regarding transparency, we take great consideration into transparency. State law requires that we provide a legal notice to property owners within a certain radius, 300-foot radius. That is what we did. We don't deliver these notices to every single resident adjacent or in adjacent subdivisions. It's the legal noticing requirements that are required of us through state law. So that means a lot of people may not living in that neighborhood receive a notice, we provide the notice as required by state law, and that's what we did. In fact, in your packet, we have the legal notices that were sent, and as well as the names and addresses of the people within that designated state law requirement. So we take very seriously state law regarding that matter. So I think that addresses the questions that are come up. In summary, 10,000 to 8,000 square foot lots on 5 acres of this site. The preliminary subdivision has already been approved. They're going to have to come back for final subdivisions on subsequent phases. With that, there's going to be public input on the specifics related to water, sewer, the roads, subdivision, and all of that. This is not the venue to have that conversation because this is strictly the rezone. There will be future conversations on that.
Go ahead. Yeah, I was with respect to some of my citizens' comments about coming back to rezone again. How would you respond to that?
This is the consideration of the rezone tonight. If they're going to come back for any other additional changes, it would have to go back through public processes. There will be coming back for final subdivision plat. There's going to be comments on the specifics of road, of water, sewer lines, all of those elements related to the lots, and that will be at the Planning Commission at a later date.
So what you're saying, this is just a purely rezone, not what's going on. That will happen, though, at the Planning Commission another day.
Correct, on final subdivisions for the other phases that are moving forward. And like I say, this cleanup is for 5 acres. It was because the original applicant provided the legal description that wasn't in line with what the proposal for the first phase of the subdivision. And this is to clean that up and to make sure that the lots that were approved with the preliminary subdivision align with the zoning that was originally intended, but wasn't noticed when the original applicant came in.
Okay. Other questions for Tim? Did you want to applicant get back up?
Okay, I want to make sure that the residents know and citizens know that the noticing, because I've gotten a lot of questions about this, the noticing for these hearings is not managed by the applicant. It's a city administered situation. I got a few calls about why Ivory's not giving residents a heads up. That's not something an applicant, or in this case Ivory, handles. To clarify on the error that occurred, we were not the original applicant. The original property owner, which was a radio station conglomerate, was the original applicant. And we stepped in, and to put it as simple as I can think of it, the presentation that went before the City Council and the public on October 18, 2016, where you voted on rezone, showed the correct boundary of the R18, R110. So in that hearing, you looked at it and you voted on the accurate description as shown in your packet and on the screen. The only error was the actual legal meets and bounds description was not correct. So that was the error. But what was presented last year in the rezone versus today, there is no difference. It's the exact same thing. The preliminary plat went on to be approved that mirrors exactly what we proposed in the zoning designations. To answer the gentleman's question, we did not ask to come back and rezone this. This was staff's request, and we're doing that. We have not requested or plan to request a revision to the preliminary plat that's already approved. We've built the first phase. The second phase plan set is submitted to the city and will go to a planning commission, I believe, on January 4th, and I would encourage all citizens to come out and provide input on that. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I just checked with legal. He advises it's okay. This gentleman in the back had a question. Did you get that answered?
Come on up. Come up.
Please come up to the mic.
Sorry, so not specifically, and I'm kind of curious. So Citadel, my understanding is sold you the property based on a grand plan of some sort, a rezoning that they had. Is that correct? I guess what I'm hearing, and I guess maybe I'm just not comprehending it, but, and so you designed a subdivision based on what? Was it information received from City Dec on a rezone? And I guess what I'm saying is what I'm questioning is that if you don't get this rezone, will you not be able to go forward putting the number of homes in that you've planned already, that's already master planned by Ivory in the area, or do you need the rezone to accommodate the homes that you're there?
Great question. So we stepped in the middle of the process with the previous property owner, and an adjustment was made from the original application of where the exact line of the R18 to R110 would be located. Prior to the hearing, the City Council hearing last October, we revised that, and that was in the staff report that goes out, and that what was presented to the City Council and the residents is what we're showing today. So we have made no changes. To answer your question, the preliminary plat that went on to be approved mirrors exactly what was approved last October and what we're looking at today. So we're not doing this for more units or to make a change. Murray City is doing the right thing by the catching that clerical error of a legal description that did not match up with the presentation that was shown last October, and asked to go back through the public process. But the zoning designation that was approved last October and that's presented tonight aligns with the preliminary plat, which is a plat of the entire property, aligns with what was approved earlier this year, which is 81 lots. So that went through the public process. 81 lots were approved, and that aligns with the zoning change that was voted on last October and what is being presented tonight. And then after that, we brought in a final plat for the first phase, and that was approved as well. Does that answer your question and the council's question?
Okay. Well, you know, and you got to come back, and we really, this is, yeah, okay.
If you don't get the rezone, will you lose a number of lots from 81 down to whatever if you don't get the rezone?
If the city decides to change their perspective on what they already voted on, that could potentially impact the already approved preliminary plat. I'll put it that way, and that it could potentially change it, because that would change the boundary of the zoning designation that was presented and voted on last year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. Tim, I have some questions, and there's the public comments are closed. Citizen comments. Tim, so I know we've gone over this, but what brings this back again? Just one more time. An error. They keep talking about an error.
Citadel, the original owner of the property, when this application came forward, had a proposal for a rezone of R110 and R18. It was split in basically in the middle, and the legal description that they submitted at the time went through the process. We provided the notice on that legal description, and it didn't coincide, as has been mentioned, with the plan that Ivory has brought forward that actually went through the preliminary plat process. This is a cleanup of that to align that preliminary plat with the zoning designations, the rezone designation that we're looking at.
So essentially, we voted on a picture with the lines located X, and the legal description actually had the line over. And all we're doing is saying, okay, all we're doing is legally making the description match the intent.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. Thanks. Any other questions for Tim? Okay, we'll bring back to the council for questions or statements or a motion.
I would make a statement that the constituents' comments have swayed me, and I'm going to vote against this rezoning. It's just too dense.
Thank you. Dave, Mr. Naponsky. Okay, but I know. Yeah, but we were talking with council. You can say all you want before we motion. So
I'm just really curious. So, if you don't get this approved, so you're saying that the houses that you want to put in there, the 81 houses, it could go down the amount of houses that you are going to put in there if you don't get this approved? So there'll be a decrease in houses there?
In the event that, excuse me, Councilman Brass said it correctly. You voted on, which happens all the time, like tonight. You voted on a picture, a document that was prepared by staff, and later the description did not line up, and so that was approved. We went on to design a preliminary plat that aligned with that zoning of the R18, R110 that was approved, and that preliminary plat was approved with those 81 lots. So if you decided to vote tonight to unwind that or change that, that would reduce the number of lots.
So it changed from what we had voted from before.
Yeah, it's going to reduce the preliminary plat. We would have to go back because it wouldn't technically comply. We'd have to take some lots out to adjust for that change that occur.
Tim, come on.
However, with the proposal the way it is with the preliminary plat, there are some of the lots in the R18 zone that are above the 8,000 square foot lots. There's some of them are close to 10,000, so there would have to be a reconfiguration, but it's likely that the lots would be probably fairly similar in number because there are already in the 8,000, that's a minimum, and there are in the 8,000 area of the preliminary plat that was approved, there are some lots that are close to 10,000. So it's likely that it may be adjusted somewhat downward, but probably not very much if this isn't approved. It would mean having to go back clear through the process with the preliminary plat and reconfiguring everything, but I don't think there's going to be a huge decrease in lots. I'm just going to say that.
Tim, was this originally agricultural?
Yes.
And as I recall, not the general plan we just recently voted on, but the one before it, it was decided that in the future, anything zoned A1, which is agricultural, would be R18. So, in effect, this is it's in accordance to the general plan.
Absolutely. Always has been for the last 25 years. When we talk about 10,000 to 8,000 square foot lots, it's single family low density. These are low density lots. You're not putting in apartments here. Your single family low density lots, which the majority of residents in this community are on single family low density lots. It's in line with the general plan that was approved by the council prior to our most recent one and also our most recent one. Completely aligned. That's why we're recommending approval. That's why the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval for this.
And I think that's why, when we do a zone change, and I make this speech every time, you got to look at the appropriateness of the zone. Does it fit the general plan? Is it what we intended? And the reason is you never know what's going to get built or who's going to build it. And I learned this kind of the hard way on a property. Well, if you know where Mountain Medical Imaging was, that was originally going to be a bank, a one-story bank, and it became a two-story office building. It still met the zone, but the impact was different. So we look at the zone, and you've got to look at it. Is it appropriate? I've got a huge lot, and we're zoned R18. You've seen my yard, so it is. I agree. It's not. We're not building apartments. It's just a slightly smaller yard, but it does meet the general plan, and because of that, it would be difficult to not say yes.
Yes, Frank?
Yes, this is a little different case than the normal rezone because you've already voted on the land use issue. This was brought before you. You voted on it. And based on land use reasons, not a project. that you voted on the R18. The problem is that there was a legal description problem. There's a description problem, and as a result of that, it's coming back through, I think, to make sure that the area that you were voting on was, in fact, the one before you previously. This is a little different. This is not looking at this for the first time. We've already voted on this issue. The problem was just to make sure the descriptions match up with what you voted on previously. So it's a little different than that. You have made a land use decision before. And now, it's an interesting that we're now looking back and maybe reversing a land use decision because the property description wasn't appropriate, or wasn't exact.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we take a motion? Okay.
All right, I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance relating to land use. Amends the zoning map for a portion of the property at approximately 1187 West Bullion Street, Murray City, Utah, from R110, low-density single-family, to R18, low-density single-family.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer?
No.
No.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. There's no unfinished business scheduled. We have new business items. 10.1, consider resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and Salt Lake County for the transfer of county transportation funds for certain transportation projects within Salt Lake County. Doug Hill, sorry. Oh, you're doing something over there. I thought you were waiting for me. You've never waited on me, have you? Isaac, we always appreciate you being here doing this for us.
Thank you. So last legislature, a year ago, the Utah State Legislature set aside money for transportation projects and awarded Salt Lake County $47 million to go towards transportation needs within the county. The county recently sent out notices to all of the cities in Salt Lake County asking what projects we would like to have funded with this $47 million. So Murray City submitted an application for Hanauer Street to help us fund the Hanauer Street project. And this is if you can see it on the map, this is the project that we are wanting to fund with the $1.5 million that Salt Lake County is willing to award us, assuming we sign an interlocal agreement with them. Hanauer Street is a new road. It goes, we talked about it earlier today, but it goes between Vine Street and 4800 South. This depiction on the map, which I know is hard to see because of the colors, shows the preliminary alignment for that road, and the key matchup, as you can see, is going to be to match up on the north end with Hanauer Street. That's why we're calling it Hanauer Street. So it needs to line up with Hanauer Street on the north end, and then travel through this property as much as possible on property owned by the city. We don't currently own all of the property on the very south end. There's still some parcels that are owned by private properties. And the city is working, as reported earlier, on trying to purchase these properties and then eventually connect to Vine Street. This is all part of the larger plan to extend Main Street as it comes out of Salt Lake City through Murray City and essentially to connect down to 7200 South in Midville. So what you're going to consider tonight is approving an interlocal agreement with Salt Lake County, which will award Murray City $1.5 million in transportation monies to be used on this project, the Hanauer Street project, and it would be reimbursement funds. So the city would need to front the money for the project, design and construct the project, and then upon completion, we would request a reimbursement of those funds from Salt Lake County. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Doug?
Yeah, I've got a question. Poplar, then. Does Poplar get closed at Vine and 48th? Because those intersections are alarmingly close together, and I can see that becoming a traffic problem.
Well, I think that has been contemplated in closing Poplar, and by essentially vacating the right-of-way of Poplar Street in the future, which we would have to come back to the city council to vacate that right-of-way, that property then would become available for future development. And I know the city has had discussions about whether that would become development opportunities for properties on State Street, or whether it would be to enlarge potential green space, park area in that area. But that is, at least up to this point, that has been what the city has discussed, is vacating Poplar Street and using it for future development of some type.
So that's the plan. Poplar Street would go away.
Poplar Street would go away. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to. I think it could stay, but then we would have to deal with, as Councilman Brass indicated, you'd have two streets in two intersections very close together, and we'd have to, if it didn't go away, we would have to examine how we can make that safe.
How do these people get to their homes?
The city has purchased all of the property on Poplar Street, with the exception of those ones that I mentioned earlier that Tim talked to you about in the previous meeting.
Yeah.
So there would be access provided to all the properties, but most of the properties are city-owned.
Got it. Very good.
Okay, any other questions for Doug? Okay, if not, we'll consider a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and Salt Lake County for the transfer of county transportation funds for certain transportation projects within Salt Lake County.
I'll second that.
Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Next, 10.2, consider a resolution approving the water master plan. Doug?
Last week in the committee of the whole meeting, we made a presentation to you about the city's water master plan, which was recently updated by Bowen Collins and Associates, which is a professional engineering firm. What they did is they came in and looked at our system and identified certain deficiencies in our water system, mostly things like wells that perhaps are not producing as much water as they potentially could with the amount of water rights that we own. They looked at things like pipe sizes and where we have smaller pipes than what we should be having in order to supply sufficient fire flow in the area. They looked at the growth of the city and where the growth was going and where we needed to upsize our pipes. And then they also looked at where we have old pipes that have been in the ground perhaps as many as 50 years and our old steel lines that are corroding and need to be replaced with the ductile iron that we're using today. So they went through, they examined our system, and then based on the deficiencies which they found, which I can show you here just to put that up again. So here's a map showing all of the deficiencies that they have identified in our water system that need to be improved upon. And so now we have a map. As we plan for the future, we can work off of this map and say these are the areas that we need to budget for each year, include in our capital facilities plan, and we can work to fix these deficiencies. They then went on to identify the actual projected costs associated with these projects, and they broke them into both capital costs, so these would be one-time expenditures to replace our wells or to improve our system, and then they also identified annual costs that would be more maintenance related, so these would be things like pipe line replacement projects that we need to set aside a certain dollar amount every year in order to accomplish these replacement projects. So again, what we're asking tonight is for you as the City Council to adopt the master plan, which becomes basically our planning guide moving forward in the future as to what we will do in the city. The other important thing, and to put this on record, is that this master plan will also be used going forward to determine what the fees to our citizens will be. So we are in the process right now of looking at our rates and what projects need to be accomplished and when they need to be accomplished, so that we can determine whether the rates that we're currently charging are sufficient or whether we need to do a rate adjustment. And so that's a future thing that we'll be working on, that we'll be coming back to you to discuss that based on this plan. So the plan is kind of the basis for the rate study. It is also the basis for the impact fees that are charged to the city. And state law requires that, and let me just back up for those that might not know what impact fees are. So impact fees are charged to new development to buy into the system, because they are creating impacts to our system. The more homes that come into the city, the more businesses, whatever type of development in the city causes cities to have to make improvements, which costs money, and so the state law allows us to charge new developments an impact fee based upon our rate study. So this document will also then be the basis for the impact fees and whether or not they change. We're in the process of doing that study. They could stay the same, they could go down, they could go up, but we're looking at that right now. And so sometime in the near future, we'll be coming back to you, assuming you adopt this master plan this evening, and talking about what we have found as far as the impact on our rates. I also want to mention this, and I know you've heard this before, but we have to change our rates even if they don't go up, because the Utah State Legislature actually almost 2 years ago passed a bill requiring all water providers to implement what's called a conservation tier rate structure. So in other words, the more water you use, the higher the rate will be. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get citizens and businesses, institutional facilities, to try to conserve and their thought is that the more you have to pay, you're probably going to use less water. Where right now our rate structure is fairly steady. It doesn't matter how much water you use in the summertime, you're going to pay the same rate. But we have to change that. So as part of this fee study, we're looking at a conservation tiered rate that we'll be implementing in conjunction with the recommendations in the master plan. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Nice job, Doug.
Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to commend you, Doug, and the water department for the fine job that you all do.
Thank you.
And also, I called you on page 6-3 when I was reading over this, and I was really surprised that out of that page, 7 of those spots are schools. And so, but you clarified it for me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet.
You
And
know, I was just really surprised that 7 of them, 7 are the schools. 7.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for reading the plan.
Oh. Well,
it's nice to know that and that's
I
quite
couldn't sleep.
And that was quite a bit of detail, so it was nice to know that plan was read.
Yeah.
And you're right. We have a number, and it's not just schools.
No.
But
You're right.
but we have a number of places where our pipe sizes are undersized. We might have a 4-inch line. Nowadays, the standard minimum pipe size is an 8-inch water line, and we have a lot of 4-inch water lines out there.
Yeah.
So over the next, and of course what they did is they projected out to the year 2060. So that doesn't mean that today those schools are in danger of, not having enough fire flow in case they were to catch on fire. But it means that by 2060, so in the next 40 years, the city will need to upsize our pipelines in order to keep up with the growth and demand of our system.
But I just noticed that they failed, and then you explained to me why they failed. And I really appreciate you taking the time to explain that to me. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Pam. Any other questions for Doug? Okay. We'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion. I will move that we adopt a resolution approving the Water Master Plan.
I second the motion.
Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. The next new business 10.3, acknowledge completion and receipt of the independent audit for fiscal year 2016 to 2017, and order that notice be published pursuant to Section 10-6-152 of the Utah Code. Denise. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. Our partners, our independent auditors, were Keddington and Christensen. They did a great job for us and did it in a timely manner. We appreciate that. Our audit was issued earlier than it's been issued in the past, and this is asking permission for it to be posted to the state auditor's website and our city website. And I believe we did a complete review, so we don't need the bond proposal, Isaac, but thanks. We did a complete review of our financial year end and our status, and I believe that we have consistent and constant discussions about where we stand. So I believe that you have all the information you need, and I hope, Pam, you read my whole CAFR.
Do what?
Did you read the whole CAFR? You did. Thanks.
Just doing my homework.
Love it.
All 168 pages. Good job.
Yeah. She might have skimmed a little bit.
Then again, I bet she didn't.
Okay. Any questions for Denise on that? If not, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the completion and receipt of the independent audit for fiscal year 2016-2017, and order that notice be published pursuant to Section 10-6-152 of the Utah Code.
I second the motion.
Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And now we'll go to the mayor report.
Thank you. Whereas this is the last meeting of of the year, I wanted to just take a moment to express appreciation to all of you for a great year. I've enjoyed the things that we've accomplished, things that we've done. So thank you. Wish you and all the members of the public a very happy holiday season and a safe holiday season. And that's it.
Wow, look at him. Any questions for the mayor?
No, although happy holidays to you and your family as well. And I'd also like to say that this is going to be the last meeting for our Area 2, our District 2 representative, and we're going to miss her. So it's been great having you here, and I hope you've learned a lot. And we really do appreciate your input and that you've joined us for a short time, but it's been great having you. Thanks, Pam.
You're welcome, and you're in good hands. I appreciate the person that came to my door to give me the application to fill it out. I was a little nervous. Brent says it looked like I won the Price is Right, and I did. The hardest part about this whole thing is leaving all of you. And but you haven't seen the last of me.
I bet
I'll
not.
be a citizen and I'll be at the meetings now and then. But thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed.
And we're kindred spirits.
We really are.
now.
She's
Brent
just,
and I are.
She makes me laugh quite a bit. But anyway, we've had a great time, and it's been great. It has been a great experience, not just for you, but for us. So it's been a blessing for
And
us.
you guys did really well for your first time of having a sub come in.
Thank you. Did we?
Yeah.
We passed?
Yeah,
Well,
I thought it's
we
good.
appreciate it. Thank you again, Pam and everyone. Okay, we're adjourned.